My parents raised me to care about other people. In the 50s, when my father was a rabbi in Virginia, in the South, where there was segregation between whites and blacks, he was working for integration. And I was inspired by his teaching, and also my mother, who was a great teacher. And I got into this because this is an important part of Judaism, of our religion, of our caring for the world. When I came to Israel, I was 15, and it was 1968. I thought I was leaving behind the terrible problems of the United States, of the discrimination against the blacks and the war in Vietnam. And I figured now I was coming to Israel, peace and quiet and Jewish roots, and I was inspired. But after 10 years in Israel, I realized some of the same problems were afflicting Israeli society. Discrimination against Palestinians and a tendency for the government to go to war instead of trying to work things out through diplomacy and through cooperation. So basically I find that these issues, these human frailties, these mistakes are made all over the world, and my job in Israel was to address them there, because I live in Israel. My children and my grandson now and my mother live there, and so this is my challenge, to try to do something in Israel. It hasn't been easy, but I've met wonderful people among Israeli Jews, among Palestinians, among people from all over the world who've come to try to do something, people that I speak with when I go abroad here in Asturias. So it's been fulfilling, but it's also been frustrating, because we see the politics are getting worse. Israel has elected successively more radical, more extreme, more reactionary governments in the last years. And I think that big mistakes are being made, and I'm worried. I have to admit that I'm worried, and I'm sad. We have many countries turning more right-wing. I think that in Israel, one reason that the populace is less patient is because Palestinian resistance became more desperate 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and when people felt unsafe taking a bus, because suicide bombers were blowing up buses and killing many people, it made people terribly impatient and intolerant. And so for some Israelis, many Israelis, the solution is we'll build a high wall, we won't see them, we'll give them a little bit, and that's the best we can give them. And some Israelis, as you know, are even more extreme than that. And some of them are led by rabbis who are more extreme than that. And that's a very sad thing. It's a disgrace, it's a blasphemy against the Judaism that I was raised with, the Judaism that I teach. This is Lucy Nusseibeh. She's British born, but married into a distinguished Palestinian family. Lucy said that just because you're stronger doesn't mean that you don't have more fear. So Israelis are very strong, a huge army and technology and everything, but they're more afraid. And they're afraid of any change because they figure, as bad as things are right now, it could get worse. The issue of security is always in the air, always talked about, which means that there's a great deal of insecurity, constant insecurity. Some of it comes because people, all the Jews who came to Israel from Europe, for example, not all of them, but many of them had relatives, parents, sisters, brothers, who were killed by the Nazis. Israel just chose a new chief of staff of the army, and when this was this week, and when he was sworn in, he spoke about he was the son of Holocaust survivors. That means a great deal of insecurity in the way people feel and react. And that insecurity, unfortunately, when it's combined with privilege, and Israel gets privilege from the Western world, money, diplomacy, protection, it makes people feel that they don't have to give Palestinians back their land, and if they don't have to, then they won't do it, and then they get used to having it, and they don't see anything wrong with the imbalance, the injustice, which is a constant characteristic of the reality there.